welcome back to Bengals Army. We got
What's up? What's
Chris with
up?
us. He's been out doing some trips, seeing the world. How
It's
was
been a
how was
long
your trip,
while.
Chris?
It's good. I was on a mission trip to Cambodia for about 17 days, so that was pretty nice. And then obviously just a week on the front end, a week on the back end, and there puts us at over a month since I've been back on here. So it's nice to kind of get back into the swing of things, get back into normal life, back adjusted from the 12-hour time difference, and just get back to watching some football,
Dude,
enjoying some Bengals football this week.
yeah, you couldn't have picked a better week to get back and watch some too.
Yeah, man.
It was, I mean, the way that Jake Browning played makes you really wonder where this team would have been at if he could have played week 1 and 2. Gave Joe a couple more weeks. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's really discussed that, but I was just thinking about that today. I was in the truck driving, and I was like, man, I was like, if I mean, nobody thought he was going to play that good. I think he played very well. He was like 30. What was he? 32 or 39 or something like that.
Yeah,
And
something like that.
dude was on point. So yeah, if he could have got a couple early games, a little more confidence, got Joe healthier, that I mean, could have got us maybe a win or two, but we'll never
Yeah.
know.
Uh, and on that note too, I'm curious how much, because the offense looked different. Like they for sure changed the offense to cater it more to Jake Browning's skill set. So going back to what you said, I'm curious how much they would have been able to do that in the first couple weeks of the season, because obviously like you don't want to get too far into the weeds because Joe's coming back, but now that he's out for the season, you can change as much as you want in the offense, as long as everybody's got the capacity to think through it and stuff. Um, but yeah, Jake Browning played so well, and I thought to help him play really well like that, the offensive line was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no O-line guru or anything like that, so like I don't look at the PFF grades or I don't look at all these analytics and whatever, but from my eyes telling me Jake Browning had all the time in the world to make the decisions and the reads that he needed to make, and most of the time the ball was coming out quick and the wide receivers were getting open. Last week I thought one of his issues was he'd 1-2 and then he'd step up in the pocket, which was great. But eventually you just got to kind of get rid of it and either throw it to somebody,
Yeah.
give your guy a chance, or throw it away. And he wasn't doing that. And he was ended up getting sacked, when he was climbing the pocket. But this week I thought the line protection was great, which led to Jake making great decisions, wide receivers getting open, him putting the ball where they needed to be. And I frankly did not believe that he could do it. I have been one of the biggest Jake Browning haters. Like, I mean, it all stemmed from training camp. Like in training
Yeah.
camp, we're sitting here, Bengals fans are arguing about, man, is it going to be Trevor Siemian? Is it going to be Jake Browning? Do we need to go get a guy? I was on the we need to go get a guy train because it seemed like Browning and Siemian were just going back and forth trying to outbat each other. But
Yeah. I was saying it didn't seem like either of them. Neither of them really were shining in a good light. I didn't see. That
yeah,
was a time ago, so I'm not. And they're playing with second, third string dudes. I don't think they really played any with any of the first string guys. So that can make a big difference, I guess. I think having T out there helped open the field up a good bit. In the way Tanner Hudson's been playing, that's been we've been reaping the benefits of that. I think, and actually running the ball. We ran the ball. I think Joe Mixon had 8 carries going into halftime, and Chase Brown, he had a few carries. I forget how many he had going into half. Let's just say he had maybe 4 or 5, something like that. I'm guessing. I don't really know, but he had a few. So that alone right there was more than what we had the whole game last week. And what was weird about last week's game against the Steelers, did you get to watch it?
yeah, I watched most of that one.
Okay. Yeah, I went to the game with our buddy Aaron McKenzie and his dad. We gotta go down there and have a good time. But it's just weird how that was a 16-point game, but the defense looked, you know, so bad. It was just a different game altogether the way it was played. But yeah, the effectiveness running the ball that helped on that first drive. Man, Jake Browning took a sack. Maybe it wasn't the first drive, but I remember him taking a sack where he just held on to it and held on to it. It was like, dude, just throw it away. And it might have been during the fourth down when we went for it. I think that's when it was. And I was just like, man, just throw it up. And if they get an interception at the 10, 20-yard line, that's as good as a punt. So that was something that I was kind of scratching my head. Why not just throw the ball away, or give the guys a chance? I mean, throwing it away wouldn't really matter, but maybe a few yards. But it's a game of inches. Evan missed that field goal from 57 by less than a foot. But yeah, that's
I think coming back to that play on that 4th and 3, like, how many times have we seen Zach Taylor punt the ball like this season in that exact scenario? Like, the fact that he was all of a sudden had made the decision, oh yeah, I'm going to start being aggressive now with Jake Browning as my quarterback instead of Joe Burrow as my quarterback. Like, that was one of the biggest head scratchers for me. It's like, literally the entire year, you should have been doing that kind of thing. Even if it's not every time, like, at least greater than 50% of the time, probably from your own, 43-yard line. If it's 4th and 3 or less, you should probably go for it. Like, every team in the NFL does it now. So it was kind of like shocking to me that he decided all of a sudden, oh yeah, now's the time to be aggressive.
I don't know if that was just he felt like that's the way we're going to win. It's him being aggressive with Joe. It's kind of like pick and choose your times and your spots a little bit.
But I mean, when
I
the
agree
team
with
has been playing, the team has been playing poorly. So, like, you want to give the offense as much chance as possible, and you don't really want to just like give up an opportunity at points to punt the ball away when your defense really hasn't been stopping people. So, like, I mean, anyways, we're past it, and it turned out like that play turned out horrible, and I thought that that's how the whole game was going to go, and then all of a sudden, bang, the switch flipped.
I was nervous. I wouldn't say I definitely wasn't expecting a win. I was hopeful because I think the magnitude of this win can really change just keeping that culture of winning, keeping that mindset in letting some of these young rookies that we have in there playing, between Miles Murphy, Chase Brown, Jordan Battle, now that he's getting a good bit of playing time. Like we got some guys out there, DJ Turner, like those guys playing and getting wins under their belt. That's got carryover. We always get frustrated. Pittsburgh somehow always finds a way to win games and be around 500 and whatever. And I do believe in having that culture. And when you have Joe coming back, man, next year, I think the dude's going to be hungry. I think him seeing the team win without him is going to make him just as hungry, if not more hungry, to be out there playing and winning games, if that makes sense. Like, it's easy to sit back and, oh man, team's not playing great, I'm not in there, like feel kind of crappy. But you see the team playing good, and that thought, dude, if I was out here, I could piece this up. And him being on the sideline this year or for the remainder of the year, I think he's going to see some different looks possibly. Just he'll be able to scout, I guess, do a little evaluation of teams, and I think that can carry over as well. So just I'll want JQ play good.
And I think that, like, it was obviously a point of emphasis to get the young guys playing time this week. And like, it was great to see Chase Brown out there a bunch. It was great to see, Miles Murphy starting to get more playing time. It's great to see even a guy like Tanner Hudson. I mean, we've been doing nothing but trashing Irv Smith basically the whole season, and finally they get some young guys out there. And I'm hoping that they can like reinvigorate the team with like a new sense of like confidence and like we are the big dogs, because
Yeah.
this year it felt like this is where I think that the Zach Taylor message kind of like goes quiet a little bit when you're like, oh yeah, we just got to trust the process and we keep working and like things will work themselves out. Basically, it kind of like lulls you into this like complacency, like, oh yeah, we don't really have to put our foot on the gas pedal because like we know that we got this. We're
Right.
good. We know that we got this. Whereas like I think that there's some times, especially this season, when it felt like you have to have a killer instinct out here and you have to feel like there's some sort of intensity that the team kind of just lacked. So I'm
Right.
hoping, going back to Joe Burrow, that like he can see that and that fire gets lit under him for that, but also that it just gets lit under some of the guys for this year and that they can see like, man, like everything's not going to be okay if we just sit back and we keep going about our business the same way we've been doing it. But yeah.
Light fell. No. There we go. I tried to grab it. I thought I'll fall completely off. I was like, get over here.
You'll have that every now and again.
But no, I agree with that. I think I put something on Twitter the other day about how I missed that Ted Karras energy after the Tennessee game where FU Tennessee, like you hyped up, and then Jamar Chase flipping off one of the Pittsburgh defensive backs. Like that, there was an energy there. There was this attitude to him. And I'm not saying you have to be a jerk and a dick to people. Like that's not what I'm saying at all. But playing confidently and playing in a manner where you're not being pushed around. You're the aggressor is what I'm trying to say. Be the aggressor. Don't step back. Don't let your foot off the gas.
Yeah. And I think that's all a mindset thing. And that's where like chemistry and the leaders in the room and the leaders in the coaching staff and like the things that they have to say, I think that can affect that a lot. So hopefully, and I mean, hopefully that fire gets lit under Zach too, because I love the fact that he's like calm and composed and stuff, but Marvin Lewis was the same way. So like, I mean, when Marvin first got hired, I was just a little kid, so I don't really remember like the early days of like how he acted as a coach and whatever. Like back then, I was just happy to watch some football,
Yeah.
But as things started to go, that message, like I was like known for it for saying like the last like 5 years Marvin Lewis was there. I was like, yeah, I think it's time for him to get up out of here because I'm sick of hearing after every game. Well,
yeah, it's press conference.
Yeah, we put our guys in position, and the other team just played better this time, and we got to get back after it, and But hopefully that Zach feels that kind of. I don't want to call it pressure because it's not really pressure for him, but I hope that there's that like fire that gets lit under him, that intensity, that he can start like kind of being more aggressive and being more like. The game that comes to mind for me is against Baltimore. I think it was 2 years ago when they kept throwing the deep ball because they were trying to get go for like the passing record or something like that.
Yep.
I think they had to get over like it was like 520 yards, and they were like,
I think you got
right there,
528.
and they were like, oh yeah, keep going. And Harbaugh was like super butthurt after the game. Yeah, and
in a year before that, he did the same thing.
Yeah,
it's like, dude,
he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm trying to get my guy the record and blah blah blah," and he was defending it then, but then upset when it happened to him. But I think that like that energy is what Zach has to have. Is like,
Mm-hmm.
no, we don't want to just like build a lead and hold a lead and like it's okay to keep it close and blah blah blah. Like, get that killer instinct. Get out there and keep going for it. Keep the pedal down. And like I think with the guys that we have, more often than not, that's gonna like be a benefit to our team.
Yeah, I agree with that because he even so back to that game during his press conference, they said something like, "Oh, do you feel?" I don't know the exact words. If it was, "Oh, do you feel bad about it?" Running up the score, running up the yards. He's like, "Hell no, no, I don't feel bad about it." It's like, dude, you have to have that mindset. Now, is there kind of times and places to to go crazy? Yeah, there's a time and place. When you're close to a record like that, you got a guy like Joe Burrow. Like, yeah, I agree with it. Is it? Do you want to happen against you? No, you don't. But be better. Don't let it happen. And if it does happen next
100%.
week, come out and play some better football and prove a point. So yeah, I do agree with that. And I think Zach had a heck of a game plan this week. I think it was a very balanced. It was one of the most balanced games I may have seen in his tenure, where it was working other than the trick plays. And I know there are some people I was talking to on Twitter about it. Our boy Mon over at Bengals Pulse. I can't remember if he posted it or I posted it, but I said that you can't blame, or you should hold Tyler Boyd accountable. He's a veteran dude. He's been around. He knows why throw that ball. Like, just eat it, dude. Throw it away or run it. Like, there was some green grass. He could have maybe made a play. Maybe you gain a yard, but don't throw a pick there. That's
I'm
do I
I'm
the
not
play?
sure that he saw Josh Allen hanging out there because like
I hope he didn't. If he threw that there,
yeah.
hopefully he didn't.
Well, there's the crowd out there that says like, oh yeah, he just tried to like be a quarterback and throw it over Josh Allen. I don't think that that's the case. I thought he just like because Josh Allen was like very still and kind of like sunk way below where a defensive lineman would usually be. He would either be like dropping back to the running back or coming at the guy who's trying to pass the ball. So I gave him just a little bit of grace there, and I was like, maybe he just didn't see him. But like you're right, it's kind of an inexcusable play. You have to see that guy, especially on the like where you are on the field.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to know like, all right, if X, Y, and Z happen, then like I just got to eat this one or I got to run it or whatever the case. But I'm kind of curious how often they practice plays like that, because usually in those scenarios, like the guys are like comfortable with the plays and they have the backup plans and they have the if X goes wrong, then I do Y. So like it looked like he was just uncomfortable and like maybe they hadn't repped it enough or whatever for him to know, you know, if it's not there, don't throw it. But who knows?
Yeah,
That was a dumb play. I actually like the fact that they were trying to be creative
me too.
with something. Um,
Yeah.
so there's
It was
that.
very unfortunate. Like,
Yeah.
you have the trust in Tyler Boyd to make the right decision there, and he didn't. And so it comes back to bite you. So my thought is I've complained. Oh, I know a lot of fans have complained this year about not being creative enough, not trying to do something to open the offense up a little. So when we do it, I just don't think you should fault the play call. There's execution with everything. Not every play is going to go for, you're not going to house every play, but it's about taking what the defense gives you and making the most out of that one play and then that one series. And then that just carries over through the game. But yeah, he should have ate it. And then, but I'm not going to fault Zach and Brian for trying to put some creativity out there. That's my thought on it. But after that play, the defense comes out, gives up a touchdown. And I think the play before that is when Dax Hill had the pause where he was in position to make the interception and he drops it. They end up scoring a touchdown. And then we came out that next drive and had the turnover and a touchdown. So that was a 14-point swing. And what I what really excited me was that we didn't just, well, this ain't going our way, boys. Like we had a couple good series here and there. Like let's we're going to fold under this pressure. Like no, nobody stopped, nobody gave up. The team pulled together. The defense got stops when we needed them to. The offense got the yards that we needed, and that made me a proud fan right there. Like if there was any takeaway from it, was that was something for us to be proud of this team about, was that they didn't give up, they didn't stop, they didn't fold under that pressure. So that's what gives me hope going forward through the season. Not saying we're going to win, 5 games, but I definitely think there's a handful of winnable games in there that could keep us in the hunt. So just seeing that that alone gives me a good bit of hope.
Yeah, I like that call out too about not giving up, because it has felt like in games this year that a couple of bad things string together, and then all of a sudden the guys are demoralized on the sideline, and everybody's like, Jamar's like yelling at people on the sideline, which like doesn't seem to happen that often, and guys on defense are getting in each other's face, but over and over again, like Jacksonville, would punch and they would punch back, which like there's still obviously the concerns for, okay, what's going on with the defense that they're giving up, like, because usually in past years it's been, okay, you give up yards, but they're great in the red zone. The bend don't break. I think there's just a couple of guys that have lost a couple steps on defense. I think Cheeto being one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. And some of the inexperience from the safeties has shown at times. But when it comes down to it, like, we still have solid players on D, and especially whenever I think DJ Turner has come on strong in the last couple games. And when Cam Taylor-Britt comes back, hopefully he returns to form, because he was having an awesome year.
Yeah.
Jordan Battle seems to get better and better every game. So hopefully they can keep that intensity, and hopefully the defense gets back some of that swagger and that like punch back ability. Like, hey, our offense just scored. Like, let's go get them the ball back, or let's get another turnover, even just like a sack here and there. It seems like we've got the ability to get sacks late in the games when we're up in obvious pass rush situations, when it's just like pin your ears back and get after the quarterback. But sometimes during the games, especially if we get down like by a field goal or a touchdown, the sacks are kind of hard to come by.
Yeah. It definitely seems like that. Like, you can tell a clear difference when the Bengals are playing from ahead, the way the defense plays, and when the Bengals are playing from behind. CTB, man, that's a rough one, him getting put on IR. Really hope he makes a good recovery. I know in the locker room, Jamar had he was on his phone on like Instagram Live, and Darth, thanks for joining us, buddy. But yeah, he goes and tags in with Jamar, and he's like, "Oh, let me in." And so they basically FaceTime on Instagram Live, and it was cool to see Cam hyped up and just still bringing the energy, being there for the boys, and you just tell how excited he was for the win, how excited everybody in the locker room that was around to see him there. So I like that a lot. But I think it was very unfortunate, the Trevor Lawrence injury. I thought it was very, very classy of Trey Hendrickson, who, we all know him as Blackout Trey. This dude is an animal. He's just literally like kind of a beast. He looks possessed. The guy will look absolutely crazed out of his mind, and we all love it. But the moment, I'm sure he was he probably said some choice words when Trevor Lawrence is who I'm referring to, when he got hit, and I'm sure Trey immediately knew, something's not right, and just his ability to get up, try to help him up, and then get down beside him and say a little prayer. I was like, that right there is a class act. And you don't if that was the Ravens, like shoot, their linebacker when who got hurt
Roquan
that
Smith.
it was Roquan Smith and Joe, and he's like, yeah, that's what happens when you play the Ravens.
That's the
That's
craziest.
okay.
That's the craziest quote that I've ever heard, and the fact that he didn't get fined for that or what. Like, I don't know if you can fine somebody for making a statement like that, but
Yeah.
that feels like, okay, talking trash about a guy's injury. That's like, what are we doing here? Like,
Yeah, that blows my mind, dude. And not only that, this damn light, bro. I'm getting a different one. This clamp situation is not working. But I'm throwing it. I'm gonna throw this light. But who was it? Bart. I remember he said on ESPN Network, he's like, yeah, they're gonna put a red dot on Joe Burrow next year when they beat him and knocked him out. I think it was when we knocked him out of the playoffs. And it's like, how in what world is this acceptable? And for people to just act like that's not a big deal. And then sure enough, Joe gets hurt in that game. But for whatever reason, everyone's going to paint Logan in this negative light. And it's like Logan he plays the game the way a linebacker should play the game. Him and Jermaine Pratt, like I don't think I've seen any hits where it's just like, ooh, that was a bad hit. Like, I don't think they should have hit that or act in any sort of way that was disrespectful to the game. I have not seen that.
Especially the thing for me about Logan Wilson being called a dirty player is like, okay, so there was a hip drop tackle and he, came over on a guy's legs. Like, what do you want to happen when the defender literally cannot hit above the shoulders? He can't hit basically around the knee or below. Like, you're taking all of these things away. He has to be able to get him down. If you can't get yourself in position to make forcible contact, I'm going to use my momentum and my weight to try and pull him down whatever way I can. So if grabbing on and lifting my legs off the ground, so my full body weight is pulling this guy to the ground, if that is now dirty, then what was James Harrison doing for all those
yeah, I don't know, man. It just blows my mind. Like the narrative, the way things go towards the Bengals and the officiating, like DJ Turner, this weird phantom illegal contact or whatever that was. It was just like, I'm not seeing it, I'm not seeing it here. And it's just so hit or miss where there's plays that you're like blatant where it's like, yeah, I could like that. Where was that call at? Even if it's against us, like I'll sit there and be like, ooh, we got away with one right there. And there's other times where I just don't understand it. And the hit on Patrick Mahomes, like he was rolling out. If he could have made extra yards, he was going to make extra yards. He gets hit in bounds, and it's just how are you going to protect? I've watched Joe Burrow get hit helmet to helmet across his face mask.
Yeah.
And the defensive player land on him, is smushing him into the ground. And it's like, where's that call? I remember his rookie year against the Eagles. He got sacked and was getting lit up. And he told the ref, he's like, yeah, give me a year and I'll start getting these calls.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he said it to the ref or maybe it was
I think he said it after the game. He said
okay,
I'll start getting these calls eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, that
happened. Like there's
just to touch on that Mahomes hit, that might have been the worst play for football that I've ever seen. Like the fact that he turns into a runner, he's literally in bounds and they reviewed it and made contact in bounds.
Yeah.
I don't know what else they want the defender to do, and they're definitely not helping the quarterback by doing that because they're just going to start running up the sideline instead of getting themselves out of bounds. But yeah.
I don't know. I think officials, man, they need to be held accountable in some manner for calls. there was the holding that went our way. In like, yeah, I could see the hold in overtime, but that deep ball was completed, and it was like, yeah, we might got away with one right there, boys. But like in
Yeah.
general, I don't. I just if it's not pretty blatant, I'm not a fan of it, and I'm also not a fan of calls being one sided. And
Yeah.
it seems like time and time again we get to see that in the favoritism of certain players across the league. And like there's a lot of quarterbacks, man, that get lit up in no call, no call, depending on who they're playing against. And then you get Patrick Mahomes out there, and it's just, and I think Patrick's a great player. Like he's number one quarterback in the league in my eyes. But the there can't be a favoritism, and you can't say, well, there's been a lot of these elite quarterbacks going down this year through the AFC, so we're going to try to protect them a little more, or whatever. Well, I don't. How's that fair to the other team playing within the rules? So I don't know, bro.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think like
Yeah.
there's a certain level of risk that like guys just get injured. Like
Mm-hmm.
I see the people, like there are people that say, "Oh yeah, we got the quarterbacks are the money makers and they drive the revenue and blah 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 and this and that." But like when it comes down to it, people are going to watch NFL football. Like if your ratings take a slight hit cuz a guy gets injured, guess what? They're playing football. Like there's going to be injuries. You can't protect everything. So you're not going to be able to legislate injuries out of the game. That's just not how it works. So because if it's not one thing, it's another. So like there's got to be a line where you're willing to say, "Hey, quarterback, you're making $50 million a year. You're gonna have to take some hits." So like I don't know. It is what it is at this point. Like the league's gonna do what the league's gonna do, and Goodell's gonna keep getting booed every year at the drafts until he leaves, which could be never. I don't know. The guy's a cyborg, but
Yeah, I agree. It's just getting to that point where the defensive players, we're going to start seeing them get injured because they're going to be not. And I get it, like offensively, you want to see points scored, but a close game is a close game, and a close game is a fun game. So if you got two solid defenses going at each other and offenses, it's a 10 to 14 point game or something. To me, it's still, is it exciting as a 31-31 multiple times where you get ties, and you go from having the tie to somebody with a 3-point lead to a 7-point lead to a not like that is what it is fun, but at the same aspect is if you're a fan of football, you can appreciate what the defense is doing as well. So if you start taking and making it so hard on the defense, then what are we going to do? Just have these 40 some point games every week and a bunch of penalties, and defensive players are going to start getting hurt because they're not going to be able to play. If you're not playing fast, you're going to get hurt. If you have somebody else going 100% and you're pulling yourself off going 80, like there's a real good chance of injury risk there. So I don't know, man. We got the Colts next week. The Colts playing with their backup, who, in some people's eyes, you could say is a starting caliber quarterback in Gardner Minshew.
He's the new Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, the Fitz magic, baby. You gotta love him. He was a Bengal at one point in time, but I think this is another good winnable game for us. They got some good weapons on that team, and I think it's going to be interesting. I think their defense has played fairly well, at least from what I see in fantasy football. I haven't really watched them, but I've seen some of the points they've put up's been good. And fantasy football and watching real football can look like two different things at times. So I don't know. I don't know how tough their defense really is, but overall, they got some good weapons. They got Josh Downs. They have Alec Pierce, who was a Bearcat at one point. And then who's Michael Pittman Jr., who's a beast of receiver. So these young cornerbacks could have themselves a handful.
Yeah, I think it's going to be difficult for them as well because, like, you're going to have DJ Turner and Mike Hilton out there who are small guys. Cheeto's an average sized cornerback, but I think with Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce, um, those guys are both like 6'3", 6'4", 220 pounds. So, like, as a wide receiver, that's pretty big. So there's going to be a pretty good size disparity there. So I think the safety play over the top is going to have to be really good, and you're going to have if when they're running zone, the linebackers are going to have to stay like deep enough to where they can't just lob something up over the middle and let their guy go get it. Um, but it'll be a tough test for the secondary. Right now, I think Indianapolis is favored by 1, so basically a pick 'em game. But this thing could go like 1,000 different ways in my mind. Like if you would have asked me last week if not only if the Bengals win, but if they put up better than 20 points, I would have said there's like a 5% chance. But now it's like, okay, so the Bengals could score 35 or they could score 12. And
Yeah,
I would be surprised by none of that. So it's going
yeah.
to be
I
a really
think
interesting game for me. I do think that eventually, if we do string a couple of wins together, like we could have made some, like we made some noise in the playoffs with AJ McCarron. We didn't end up winning, the game
we
against
should
Pittsburgh or
have.
whatever.
We should have won that game, but
Yeah,
yeah, we
exactly.
didn't.
Wi-
There's no
Without
couldas or
30 penalty
shouldas.
yards at the end of a snowy, sleety, rainy, crappy weather game, like you turn a 50-yard field goal into a 20-yard field goal, makes it a lot
Yeah,
easier. But
yeah. That
I
was a
think that,
heartbreaker, bud.
yeah,
I
and
was
I think,
so mad. I lost a friend over that game
I mean,
because I cut ties right then.
yeah, hey, sometimes you got to do it, If you
Yeah,
love them, let them go.
you
But
gotta let him go.
yeah, I'm just excited, like, to see how it goes and what happens. Like, if Jake Browning can put a couple of successful games together like this, and even if it's the scheme and the game plan, and it's not actually Jake Browning being a super talented quarterback, I don't care. If all he needs to do is be a game manager and he's going to throw, like his first 5 passes, he was 5 for 9 total yards. So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
if that's what needs to happen and like you just spend your first couple drives getting him short completions to get his confidence up and to get into a rhythm and to get the line plan together, like if that's what has to happen to get the offense in rhythm, then great, do that. But I think that if we can string a couple of wins together, like why can't we make a playoff run as a wild card team?
yeah.
Like
I did you have anything else?
I just say that the defense also needs to make some big improvements leading up to that point, but there's time.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. Darth, he says we should take this one versus the Colts. I agree with you, Darth. Um, I think we're both all of us are in that agreement there that this is a game that the Bengals should win. Um, maybe uh, if you think about the team that if they play to their potential with the weapons we have, uh, the defense that we have, if the defense plays to their potential, we should we should compete in a lot of games. I mean, last year we was top 10 in running defense. This year we're Chris, you're froze, bud. There you go. Am I froze?
No, you're good. I think it was
Okay.
my internet was cutting out, for 5-10 seconds at a time during work today too. So I don't know what the
Okay.
issue is, but
I wasn't sure. I was like, am I froze or is he froze? Because he's froze here, but I don't know if it's just my thing being weird. But yeah, I think our defense, if our run defense can step up, if we don't give these chunk plays, if we can find something for tight ends and just mitigate these chunk plays, because the big thing for us was we didn't give up these crazy chunk plays. They might have controlled the clock a little bit, but running the ball, we had a really good run defense, and that helped us a lot. Now, when you're given 5 yards of carry, that opens the offense up a lot. That's what we want for this team, is be able to run the ball for 5 yards of carry. Like, that would open our offense up a lot, and the same for every other team. It's going to benefit them a lot. So if we can limit the run, and their receivers are pretty young. I mean, Michael Pittman, he came out when T came out, and I remember liking Michael Pittman a lot. And they went. I think he was a second round pick too, shortly after T, and I think he's worthy of that. He's a really good football player. So we gotta look out for their weapons. I think try to scheme up some different pressures, some different looks. Maybe Lou hasn't really put in there this year. In that game last week, I don't know if it was Dax that came up, or if it was it might have been Mike came up and was about to blitz, and he got the timing a little wrong and jumped off sides. I can't remember who that was. I don't know. Do you remember?
No, I don't.
All right. Darth said he's going to catch the show later, and who day to you, Darth. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. But yeah, I think disguising these blitzes a little bit, send some pressure off through like Mike Hilton, even Dax. Some of these Dax got some speed. Let him come up, put some pressure on. Mike had a really nice tackle for loss last week against the Jags the other day. So Mike's really good at that. He's really good at timing up that snap. So if we can get some different pressures on him, play some sound defense, and I think this game is a huge confidence game for them. Like, they were able to close this one out. They got the stops when they were needed. So let's carry that over, man. Let's carry that momentum over to them, to the Colts. And this is a home game, right? We play the Colts at home.
Yeah. ESPN.
Yeah, so if we can get another home win, hopefully the jungle's going crazy. I'm sure Jake Browning's confidence. Everyone said how confident of a guy he was, anyways. And sometimes when you get thrown into the mix and you're playing two really good defenses, and you're stepping in against the Ravens, pretty good defense right there, and it's that's kind of tough. Then you go, and plus the star quarterback is kind of a shell shock. Like, dang, our dude's down. Like, what's going to happen? Then against the Steelers, really good defense. So even the Jaguars have a really good defense. I just feel like we saw what Jake was capable of, what he was doing, and we was able to be like, all right, this stuff ain't working, and we made adjustments and made it work. And we got him in a rhythm. We got some quick balls, like you mentioned earlier. Like, we were feeding Jamar, but like, he might have had like 3 or 4 catches for 8 yards or something. Like, it wasn't anything crazy. So the fact that we was able to get him in a rhythm, let things open up, and run the ball, and run it effectively as well. And Chase Brown, he comes in, he pops through there. He's explosive. He's a good change of pace. Like, that makes a difference. So I'm excited for it, man. I really am. I think we have a really good shot to, if the game planning's good and our adjustments that needs made get made. I don't see a reason why, when you have a team that you're talking about being a Super Bowl caliber team, yes, Joe Burrow, probably the number 2 quarterback in the league, goes out. That's gonna change things. It's gonna affect things. But it's still a team that you expect to be a Super Bowl caliber or a playoff caliber team without Joe. You think if you have a manageable quarterback, you should be able to win some games, maybe sneak our way into the playoffs. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at too. And like you said it perfectly, like, for a team with Super Bowl aspirations coming into the year, you don't just get Super Bowl aspirations because your quarterback is Joe Burrow. Like, the roster has been constructed really well. Like, up until this point, I would say this is probably one of the worst free agency / draft years that we've had in the last at least 4 or 5. But I mean, that's bound to happen every now and again. Like, you pick a couple of guys and Nick Scott and Irv Smith, and they just don't fill the role that you thought that they would, and they don't meet the projection that you thought they would. And Miles Murphy, like, he still could end up being a really, really good player. He's just, for your first round pick, you'd hope that he comes on, that he doesn't need as much polishing, I guess. Either that or Lou just needs to get him on the field more and get him more used to the game.
I think in his snaps that he's had, he's produced. I think this was a good rookie class. Like, I'm not going to say it was the same as a Jamar class or the Joe Burrow and T, and then we had Logan. Like, yeah, those classes are something, but when you're picking in the very first pick in every round, you're getting some top tier players. You know what I mean? So it's I think with where we was drafting, I think we draft some good people, and I think Miles Murphy, like you said, you would like to see him a little more polished off the rip, but I think he's got. I was high on him, and I'm still really high on the guy. In the times that he's been out there, he's produced. He's put the pressures. He's had the tackles. He's had. I don't know if he's got 2 sacks right now. Not it's nothing crazy, but for the amount of reps that he's had, the more reps that he's getting, the more you're starting to see that development come through. And I get it. When you're in some of these close games, you want Trey and Sam out there, and you want DJ Reader out there. So you got these dudes that you trust, and when Lou trusts his guys and the game's on the line, like, yeah, he's putting them guys out there, and we know how many snaps they play. They're up there every week in the top number of plays. So that sounds weird to word. How would I want to word that? But they're on the field a very high percentage of the time. So it's kind of one of those things. Let's see how he develops, and when he does get out there, hopefully he keeps producing with those pressures. But I think where we're hurting is exactly what you said. Getting a Nick Scott and Irv Smith, and I don't think we appreciated Hayden Hurst as much as we should have when we had him, but we can definitely see the difference. And Tanner Hudson, I don't understand why he wasn't elevated earlier, because the dude, as soon as he got an opportunity, it was like he was playing ball. And I think he's an older tight end. I think he's like 29, 30. Like, so he's been around. Like, I think he won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. Like, he's been around the league. He's played with some good quarterbacks and some good systems. Let's keep feeding him and see what we got there. I don't know if he's a free agent this year or not.
I think he probably will be, because I can't imagine that they were like, here's a 3-year contract. But
yeah, I think
I'm really curious to see, like, I mean, the guy can't block a soul, but Irv Smith also can't block a soul. So, like,
did you see it was him and Tyler Boyd on it was some run play. I think we might have been out of the shotgun, and they both just completely, like, just ran past people. Didn't even pick up. I was like, what in the heck, man? My brain was just, it wasn't calculated. Like, was there a glitch here? Did they dude, like, but it looked like they just literally just pulling straight inward, just nothing. No,
if that happened in Madden, somebody would throw their controller at the TV.
Yeah. Like, that was in real life. I was like, dude, that was, I don't know, man. Especially, and we had Sample out there when we was run plays out of the shotgun, when we hit Jamar on that deep ball, and we've been doing that where we've been putting him in the backfield, and I like that. I like, Drew is top tier Now he gets a lot of hate because where he was drafted at and stuff, but he's a really good blocker. And if he's out there for that play, who knows, what could have happened. And he might have been there. He might have been on the other side out of the formation. I don't remember. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was
This conversation right here is exactly where, like, I don't dislike Miles Murphy as a pick, but when you see all of the tight ends that were drafted in the first, second, even like a third rounder or two this year that are like playing and playing well, like what if Sam Laporta is Miles Murphy? You know what I mean? There's just like there are guys. I think Laporta was drafted in the second round, right? So like
yeah, he was early. He was really early in the
40
second.
something. So like Laporta, Michael Mayer, Green Bay got two guys. I think a first rounder and a third rounder, something like that. But Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, Dalton Kincaid,
Yeah,
Trey McBride. I can't remember if he was this year or last year, but like
I think he was 2 years ago,
yeah.
and then he went to Arizona, and he's been playing some good ball in Arizona.
But there's all these like really young tight ends that are like making impacts in the league, and I just
Isaiah
think like
Likely.
yeah, Isaiah Lively, he's been a solid backup for a while, and every time that Mark Andrews is out, everybody's going out on the fantasy waiver wire and trying to pick him up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where my issue comes is that like in a year like this, I understand that the Bengals have a draft philosophy, and you see this guy and he can draft and develop and sit behind the guys because your defensive line is already solid and this and that. But like this is the year that you fill holes.
Yeah.
And once you fill those holes, like if it's not the perfect pick, then as long as it's a solid pick at that position, then you can always live with it. But either way, I think, obviously this year is what it is now. So we have the guys that we have, and I think that Miles Murphy can still make an impact down the stretch, keeping guys fresh and coming in and making some plays in games. But yeah, as far as the Colts game goes, I was kind of surprised to see that the Colts were 1-point favorites. Like if it was in Indianapolis, I would like that's where my mind was like, oh, they're at home. So, typically the home team gets spotted like 3 points, something like that. So I was like, okay, neutral site, Bengals +2. But the fact that the Bengals are giving up a point at home, I'm like, man, the Bengals should be getting 3. So does that mean the Colts are 4-point favorites? Like,
right.
So
yeah. It's still early in the week. So
early in the week. And hopefully we can hear some good reports coming out of practice this week that the intensity is high and guys are getting after it and they're being aggressive and that fire is lit. But you want to get to some game predictions?
Yeah, let's do it. I've got the Bengals riding the high. I don't know what score I'd be looking at because it's just so hard. I think you said it earlier, like, it could be, that 30, 34, 31-ish, or it could be 10-14. Like it's, I don't know. I could definitely see it being like a 14-17, 17-21. Like it could be something like that, or it could be a little more, but I think the defense is going to play a little bit more with an attitude this week. I think the offensive line, I think they got a little bit of confidence. I think if we can keep that 1-2 punch with running the ball with Joe Mixon and Chase Brown, I think that can make a big just jump in our run game for one, but also in the ability to pass the ball and scheme guys like Jamar and T. Like T, I think only had like 3 catches, but him just being on the field was a big deal. That opens things up a good bit. Tanner Hudson starting to produce a little more. And then we got the young guys in Charlie Jones and Andre Yosevas. Yosivash, and I'd be excited to see them make some plays, So and then we still got Mr. Reliable, Trenton Irwin, and TB's got me a little irritated here lately. So hopefully,
A lot of
yeah.
drops from Tyler Boyd. I think I mean, I guess this isn't really a hot take, but I think he's probably played his way out of Cincinnati at the end of the year. I think most likely scenario he was going to leave anyways because they just can't keep him around when you got young guys coming up and you're trying to find a way to pay T, whether you tag him this offseason or not, whatever. But yeah, but we're like right in sync with the whole score thing. I feel like it's going to end up being some kind of weird score, like 19-16 Bengals or something like that. Like, I think that the defense is going to have an edge. And I think that, though, Gardner Minshew's not, like, the most careful guy with the ball. He's kind of that, like, old school Brett Favre, Phillip Rivers. Like he'll throw 4 interceptions to the same exact spot in a game and be like, yeah, I thought I could fit it in there, So, which like I love that kind of confidence. So I support that 100%. Phillip Rivers, one of my like all-time favorite non-Bengals quarterbacks.
That video of him getting sacked and then scream. I forget who. I don't even know who they were playing, but I just remember him getting sacked and he's like 99 yards. He's yelling. He's like, bro, I just helped you up. And he's like, don't scream my ear. And then he just screams it loud.
Yeah,
he's such a goofball, man.
The cleanest trash talker of all time.
Yeah, never cursed. Just silly stuff, man. He was always talking that trash. I agree. I like Phillip Rivers, bro. I would like to see the Bengals just piece together another game where we're playing complementary football. Like if we can offense, just keep it balanced, do what we did there. Special teams, Travion, he had a really nice return. I think it got brought back on a holding call or block in the back or something.
It was late in the game too. Brought it up to like the 35 or the 40.
Yeah, so that would be that special teams could be, it's always important, especially when you have Evan McPherson that can, boot it with the best of them. So it'll be, I think special teams could be the deciding factor of this game. I think it'll be close. Like I said, I think it'll be, 3-ish, around a 3 points either way. I'll say the Bengals win. I guess let's do 24-21 Bengals. That'll be my end number. Yeah, that's a safe number. Like you got to hope with our weapons we can put up a mid-20s, and
that's what I've been hoping all year, my brother.
Yeah, like when Joe's in, it's like okay, get above 30. Like get above 30. When Joe's out right now, it's like let's get the mid-20s, and I think we can win some games. And like I said, I think the defense is going to play with an edge, knowing all right, like we got a guy. Jake can play, so we'll have a chance. So let's do our part. I think it's a little easier on the defense. You don't believe in your offense, and you just kind of like, we'll just do our thing, whatever. But when you're like, hey, this could come down to us. Like they could put up points, and this could every possession, every play counts. It puts a little more where you're more accountable for your actual, I guess, your game plan. So hopefully Luke can scheme something up. The guys believe in it and quit giving up chunk plays, because even if that can lead to 3 points, and then 3 points could be the matter of the game in the NFL. Like,
well, I think the chunk plays, the biggest issue is like stopping a drive when we need to stop. It seems like when a team needs to take 6 minutes off the clock, like they just can, because even if they don't come away with points, it's like a few yards every single play, 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 yards, You get a
Yep.
5-yard first down run, and now you're 2nd and 5, and the team can do whatever they want and get it to 3rd
Yep.
and short, get a nice easy conversion, all this kind of stuff. I think that where the defense really needs to step up is situationally, where like if you're going into the half, and there's like 4 minutes on the clock, the other team has the ball and they get it back after halftime. You want to
Mhm.
make the stop there and hold them from getting points.
Yeah.
And best case scenario, with like 4 minutes left, you want to try to get the ball back
Yeah.
to like, put some points up. So I think that that the defense, they just need to play a little better, make a play like situationally, because all it takes is 1 or 2 plays and it turns
Mhm.
around the whole identity of the defense.
Well, think of last game, not to cut you off, but we could have had 2 turnovers that I can think of off the top of my head. The interception with Dax Hill and then the fumble that DJ Turner kind of rookie mistake, not jumping on the ball and trying to
Yep.
scoop it and make a play of it. You probably thought, big play, baby, big play. This is different,
Yeah.
Vinker. And,
I'm gonna
it
run
didn't.
away from everybody once I get this ball.
Yeah, I mean, he's fast, bro. Dude's fast. But yeah, it didn't work out that way. Luckily, we came away with the win. But right there, that's those plays when they're close like that and the game's close, you got to make them. So hopefully the defense can do that. We've been a very opportunistic defense where we get the takeaways when we need to. So hopefully we can continue that without Cam Taylor-Britt. That makes it a little more challenging without guys like Jesse and Vaughn, who came up in big moments. The AFC Championship game, intercepting Patrick Mahomes on Tyreek Hill, like fastest dude in the league, and tips the ball. I think it was Vaughn tipped it to Jesse, or Jesse tipped it to Vaughn, whichever way it was. And that was a big play.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And before I go ahead and jump off here, I just want to give 2 quick shout outs to the Bengals players, to Chase Brown. I thought that he came in and did, he looked explosive. Like there were a couple times when you could see guys that made contact with his legs, like just a little arm tackle, where I thought to myself, like actively, like, oh man, Mixon probably would have gone down there. Mixon
Mm-hmm.
has had trouble like running through, hitting the hole explosively, and like running through kind of arm shoulder check tackles kind of deal. So Chase Brown, I thought, looked good, looked explosive. So hopefully he can keep that up. And DJ Turner, I think it was sometime in the 3rd quarter, but he
That hit.
came up and absolutely blasted somebody.
That
And
was right after that phantom call, bro. Right after
yeah,
that phantom call, he had some
yep.
hate in his heart.
He would listen, for a guy that's, I think he's like 5'10", like
Yeah, I think he's
one.
under 6 foot.
Yeah, I think he's like 5'10", like 180 or something like that.
Yeah,
But he's not a big guy. He might even be like 170. But
dude, he's a
either
bullet.
way, not a big guy, and he came up and absolutely laid the wood. And I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure it was on like a tight end or a running back or something. So it wasn't just some tiny receiver.
Yeah,
But
they didn't
I
even have a
I
chance to block him, man. That little
I
swing
really
pass.
liked the way. Yep. And then last thing before I go, I just shout out to the Columbus Crew. You know, I know that this is a Cincinnati podcast, but I'm a
We're
Columbus
Central
guy, and
Ohio here.
I was down there at the the Hell is Real, the in-state rivalry, FC Cincinnati versus Columbus Crew, and what a match that was! What an awesome match! Like it's great when these two teams can like build up the rivalry that they do. Both teams are awesome, and they go into the conference finals in the MLS playoffs, and winner gets home field advantage in the MLS Cup. So like that's a big deal. I know it's a Cincinnati Bengals podcast, but the I've been a Crew fan longer than FCC's been around, so I got to stick with them. I got to stick with them. But
Hey, it's that loyalty, man. Us Bengal fans, we know about
yeah,
staying loyal to our team through thick and thin. So
yeah,
yeah, I have not really followed soccer a whole lot, and So I know a lot of people have a lot of fun at those games. So I think if I went there not knowing nothing about it and just went and had a good time, I would enjoy it just like hockey or something. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be fun going to like just going to Blue Jackets games and hanging out and getting that experience. But
Yep.
overall, it's I'll watch. I definitely watch more hockey than soccer. But yeah, I think that interstate rivalry is pretty cool, and it's not a far trip really. You know, it's
Yeah.
right there.
They call it the hell is real derby because of the sign on the side of the highway there when you're
Oh
heading
yeah,
down when you're heading down
yeah,
71 south from Columbus to Cincinnati, the big hell is
hmm
real sign.
yeah,
So I think it's a cool and both teams are really good too, and both stadiums are like within 3 years old. They're both like brand new state of the art facilities. So like it's awesome to catch a game at both places. But yeah,
yeah. I'll have to try to make it to one of those just for the experience. Um, and yeah, with the shout outs, man, I got to give one to Zach because Zach and Brian, I guess the whole offensive group, Dan Pitcher and all those cats, because that was a heck of a game plan when it was kind of it was win or die time. Like if you lose that season, you kiss it goodbye. But they didn't tuck their tail between the legs. They went out and did what they needed to do. There was a good game plan that first drive. There were some plays I was just kind of like I don't know what this is going to be, and I might have did a little bad talking about it,
you're
but
not the
yeah,
only one, buddy.
I'm glad they stepped up. I wouldn't say prove me wrong because I believe in this team, and I believe in the staff, but I you just don't know week to week, and each team's good, and that's a really good team down there in Jacksonville. So it was a big win, and I think that's going to carry a lot of weight. Evan McPherson, having that mental strength to go out, miss a long kick that he knows he can make, a 57-yarder. Like that's not an easy kick. I don't care where you're at, especially outside your home stadium. I don't know what the temperature was like down there. It's in Florida, but nighttime, temperatures could have dropped a little. Could have been a little foggy, whatever, just moisture in the air. Who knows? But to be able to go out and seal the game, that I got to give him his props, give him his flowers. And then defensively, like the defense got stops when they needed to. Like they gave up some big plays, some chunk plays, but when we needed some stops, we got some stops. And then obviously Jake Browning, like dude came out, didn't shy away from it. That was one of the most televised games I think of the season. So I forget. I wish I remember what that was that I saw on it, but it was like 16 million or something viewing the game. So it was a very large crowd that game drew in, even without Joe Burrow in there. So for him to be under the lights, and there was a lot of years where that the lights were our worst nightmare. We could have a team that played great ball, and for whatever them lights came on, and we didn't play. We played some bad games. So it was nice. It was nice seeing this team get a primetime win on Monday on the road. And then the run game, like you said, Chase Brown and Joe Mixon, like those guys, like Joe, he didn't go down on first contact today or yesterday. He ran the ball. He got hit. Just that touchdown, his first touchdown. That was a great run from maybe 5 yards out, 6 yards out. Totes the rock and gets hit and has that extra effort to get in the end zone. Like that was a heck of a run. Chase Brown exploding, just looking like a bullet, just right out. Gets the ball and gets 10 yards. I don't know what he was averaging, but he had he had to be pretty high, like 8 yards of carriers. I don't know.
I
I don't
think
know
he
what
was like 6.8 or something. I was looking at it earlier. Joe was a little shorter, but I think Joe ended up at like 3.6 yards a carry or something. But that's kind of offset by him getting carries at the end of the game when they know it's a run. And
yeah.
his couple of touchdown runs too. One of them I think was like 5 yards out. One of them was within a couple yards. So, but
Right.
yeah, they hopefully they can keep it up.
Right on, buddy. Well, if you don't have anything else, I'm ready to close her down. But yeah, that was that was a lot we covered right there, man. And I'm glad we weren't covering draft stuff. I'm glad we got this win and it wasn't
100%.
talking draft and talking free agency. Even as
Yeah,
much as I love to do it, in which I do it a good bit, even when the Bengals are doing good, like just to see who's out there, get familiar with some people that maybe I'm not sure of, and it's just kind of fun to burn some time to do. So, but I'm glad that's not the case that we're doing on the podcast. That's personal time stuff, I
yeah,
guess.
fact. And it's great to be back. I like it's been tough going the last
Yeah,
like
we missed you,
month.
bud.
I mean, it feels like it's been a year since I've
It feels like a long time.
been back here. But I mean, like a lot of things happened. Like I got out of the guard, started growing my beard, started growing my mullet. Left the country for a couple weeks. Like it feels like there's a whole different world since I've
Dude, you
been
got
back.
a smaller kind of Luke Combs look to you, bro. You got like maybe a little more in shape Luke Combs.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, just a little more in shape because without that guard, pushing me to come up on a PT test. I don't know. I've gained a couple pounds, but
Dude, Daddy's gained the weight too.
yeah,
We're not young bucks anymore, not to Army standards.
yeah, fact. But I'll never beat Army standards again. See ya. But that
Right.
one thing I wanted to mention earlier, my voice still sounds like super scratchy because I was down at the crew FCC soccer match on Saturday, and being down there and just yelling for your team is my voice. Sunday and Monday it was completely gone, but today it's coming back a little bit, but I'm still pretty scratchy. So meant to mention that earlier. Sorry about that, everybody, but I'm here.
That's how I was after the Steelers game. I went down there with Mackenzie and his pops, and it was I had work that night, and I went into work and I was tired, and after the loss and just yelling, voice was all scratchy. I get it, bud. But all righty, everyone that joined us live, Darth, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Hopefully you guys catch us on Spotify, YouTube once this gets put out there, and hopefully we get another win over the Colts, and you guys join us to talk about it. Any closing thoughts, Chris? You good?
Who dey?
Who day, baby?